Welcome to another video. Today we're going to look at ways to checkmate the opponent by decreasing or eliminating the escape square for the opposing king. What we're going to be looking at is 3 mate in 2 puzzles, and all 3 have a similar theme, and the theme is mate in 2 by eliminating the king's escape square before you deliver checkmate. So let's look at this first one. This is a mate in 2, white to move. So I invite you, in a second I'll invite you to pause the screen and see if you can figure it out. Otherwise I'll give you the first move. Okay. So I invite you now to pause the screen, white to move. Alright, solution, first move, bishop right here. Now it's black's turn to move. They come down, white delivers the checkmate. So let's look at that for a second. Okay, the king, where can he go? Well, let's see, right now he can't go there. Whoops, let's make that red. He can't go there. He can't go because of the bishop. He can't go here, here, or here because of the king. But he can go here. If you first bring the bishop down. Now the bishop guards there. Okay, so now the king can't go here, 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 or here. So by bringing the bishop up, that square right there is now not a place where the opposing king can go. So let's make it red. Okay, then black gets to move, and no matter what they do, it's not going to stop bishop coming in and saying checkmate. All right, let's look at the second example. White to move, mate in 2. In a second, you'll pause the screen and see what the next best move is for white. Okay, so pause the screen now if you want to look at it. Otherwise, the next best move for white, here it comes. King right there. Now, no matter what black does, white comes in and delivers checkmate. Interesting. Now let's look at that. Right now, the king is fine right there. But because of this pawn going here and here, and this king guards here, the black king cannot go here, or here, or here, and he can't take. But he can go here. So by moving the king over, he guards that one square where the black king could have gone. And then it's black's turn to move. And now white comes in and delivers the checkmate. All right, let's look at another example of decreasing or eliminating the opposing king's escape squares. All right, now let's see. I think it's black to move on this one. This is also mate in 2, black to move. So I will invite you in a second to pause the screen and see if you can figure out the next best move for black. Okay, pause the screen now, or I'm going to give you the next best move for black. Here it comes. Black takes the pawn. Now let's see what white does. White makes a queen. Black comes down. Checkmate. So let's look at that for a second. Right now, white obviously can't go there because his own piece is there. He can't go here or here because the king guards those squares. But the white king can go here or here. So when black comes down and takes that pawn, he is now guaranteed that the white king can't go here, here, or here. And the white king can't go here, here, because both of these pieces are aiming right at that square. Now what could white do? Well, we know that white's going to bring the pawn down and make a queen. What else could he do? He could come down here and stop the rook from coming down. So let's see what happens if that happens. He comes down and he's going to stop this rook from coming down and saying check. And in that case, we can say check here. And it's mate. So let's go back. Original setup. Black rook comes down, greatly decreasing, actually eliminating all escape squares for the white king. Now he can't go anywhere, and all black has to do is say checkmate. And no matter what white does, if white brings the pawn down, then black will say checkmate with the rook. And if white says, well, I know he's going to try to bring his rook down, I'll put my rook here and stop him. If he does that, then black can say checkmate this way, and the king can't go anywhere. He can't stay there, obviously. He can't go here because of the king. He can't go here or here because of the rook. Checkmate. This is a mate in 3 puzzle. It's white to move, mate in 3, and it's similar to the theme of eliminating the king's escape squares. So I'm going to put this with that video. Here's the black king. This is the guy you're trying to checkmate right here. And as you can see, white has a rook here, a pawn, and a king. Now the black king right now, he can't go here. Obviously he can't move where his own piece is. He can't go here. He can't go here because of the rook guarding all those. He can't go here. So right now he has no escape squares. However, we're going to be trying to checkmate, and in that process we may end up creating an escape square. White to move. This is a mate in 3. White to move. So I will invite you to pause the screen and see if you can figure out what the first move for white is. Okay, so if you don't want the answer, pause the screen now and look at it. Otherwise, here it comes. White moves his king up. So the first move is not check. So white brings the king up. Black brings the bishop down. So that's one move apiece. Up and up. Okay, now, white to move. And I'll invite you to pause the screen if you want to figure out what the second move is. Right now, just notice that the king can't go, the black king, which is right there, he can't go here, here, or here. And somehow it's mate in 2 for white right now. Okay. So, pause the screen and see if you want to figure out what the next move for white is. Otherwise, I'm going to give you the next move for white right now. Rook takes pawn. The second move in this puzzle, and again, it's not a check. So the first 2 moves were not check. Now it's black's turn to reply. He moves his pawn down. You know, he could have come and just taken that rook too, because it's not protected. But he moved his pawn right there. Okay, so now it's white to move, and it's mate in 1. Pause the screen if you want to see if you can figure it out. Otherwise, here it comes. Checkmate. I thought that was a great puzzle. The first 2 moves in a mate in 3 were not check. Black king here can't go here, 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 or here. And when I first looked at this puzzle, I thought, wow, it would be so great if I could get this pawn up. But if I did that, he could just go here. So for the first move, I thought, let's bring this king up so that now, if I were to try to do this, the king can't go here, and he can't go here or here, and he can't take the pawn if I bring it up. And this pawn couldn't take the pawn because he's pinned by this rook, which is aiming right at the king. Okay, so then the next move for black is to bring the bishop down, which is interesting because now this pawn isn't pinned. This pawn could move now because if he does, it's not putting his king in check. We know we would like to just get this pawn up and say checkmate because the king can't escape there, and he couldn't grab the pawn because the king protects it, and he can't go here. Whoops, he can't go there. Problem is if you bring the pawn up, this guy is just going to come and take it, and that puts your king in check, and then you've got to move. That's why white just trades his rook for a pawn. And now no matter what black does, white can come up and say checkmate. What a great puzzle. Anyway, thank you for watching. Have a good evening.